Being alone is not the same as being lonely. Right now, in this moment, I want you to pause and think about something powerful. The relationship you have with yourself. It's the most important relationship you'll ever have. And here's the beautiful truth. When you truly connect with who you are, loneliness disappears. Look at your hands. Feel your heartbeat. Listen to your breath. This amazing person you're experiencing right now, that's you. And you're absolutely incredible. The problem isn't being alone. The problem is thinking that being alone means something is missing. I'll tell you a story about someone I met years ago. She lived in a busy city, surrounded by millions of people, yet felt desperately lonely. She had friends, family, and a successful career, but something was missing. One day, she shared with me how she finally found peace. I realized, she said, that I was running away from myself. Every time I was alone, I'd reach for my phone, turn on the TV, or call someone, anyone, just to fill the silence. But then she did something brave. She decided to spend 1 hour each day just being with herself. No distractions, no noise, no running away. The first few days were uncomfortable. Her mind raced. She felt awkward, restless. But slowly, something magical happened. She started to enjoy her own company. She began to notice things about herself she'd never seen before. Her sense of humor, her creativity, her inner wisdom. That's what self-companionship is about. It's about becoming your own best friend. Think about your best friend. What makes them special? They listen without judgment. They celebrate your victories. They stand by you during tough times. They make you laugh. They tell you the truth, even when it's hard to hear. Now imagine being that friend to yourself. You see, loneliness isn't cured by adding more people to your life. It's cured by adding more of yourself to your life. When you're comfortable in your own skin, when you enjoy your own thoughts, when you can sit in silence and feel at peace. That's true freedom. Let me share something personal. Growing up, I was always surrounded by people, but I felt disconnected. I thought something was wrong with me because I needed time alone. Society tells us that being social all the time is normal, that wanting solitude is strange. But here's what I learned. The quiet moments alone are when we grow the most. Think about a tree in the forest. It stands tall, independent, yet connected to everything around it. It doesn't need another tree leaning against it to be complete. It grows strong because it has deep roots, its own foundation. You are like that tree. Your strength comes from within. You can't give to others what you haven't given to yourself first. Love, respect, understanding, patience. These must start with you. When you're alone, do you criticize yourself? Do you fill the silence with negative self-talk? Or do you speak to yourself with kindness? I want you to try something right now. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath. Now think about someone you love deeply. Feel that warmth in your heart, that compassion, that acceptance. Now direct those same feelings toward yourself. Feels different, doesn't it? Maybe even a little uncomfortable. That's okay. Like any relationship, the one with yourself takes time to build. The most successful, fulfilled people I've met all share one thing. They've learned to be their own best company. They don't need constant external validation because they know their own worth. They don't fear silence because they've learned to listen to their inner voice. They don't run from solitude because they've made peace with who they are. Every great inventor, artist, writer, and thinker spent countless hours alone with their thoughts. Einstein didn't develop the theory of relativity at a party. Van Gogh didn't paint his masterpieces in a crowd. They understood that creation requires communion with oneself. But let's be practical. How do you start building this relationship with yourself? Start small. Set aside 15 minutes each day for self-reflection. No phone, no TV, no distractions. Just you and your thoughts. Write in a journal. Take a quiet walk. Sit in nature. Listen to your inner dialogue. Notice how you talk to yourself. Would you speak to a friend that way? If not, it's time to change the conversation. Replace criticism with curiosity. Instead of, I'm so stupid, try what can I learn from this? Instead of, I'm always alone, try I'm giving myself time to grow. Remember the last time you felt truly peaceful? Chances are, it wasn't when you were trying to please others or pretending to be someone you're not. It was when you were fully yourself, accepting who you are without judgment. Think about your interests, your passions. what lights you up inside, what makes you lose track of time. These aren't just hobbies, they're conversations with your soul. When you engage in activities that resonate with your true self, loneliness disappears because you're in harmony with who you are. Let's talk about fear. The fear of being alone. That's one of humanity's oldest fears. But here's the paradox. The more you run from this fear, the stronger it becomes. The more you embrace solitude, the more you realize there's nothing to fear. You are complete, just as you are. Your relationship with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship in your life. When you're comfortable being alone, you don't enter relationships from a place of need or desperation. You choose to connect with others because you want to share your completeness, not because you're trying to fill a void. Think about the ocean. Each wave is part of something vast, yet it rises and falls on its own. You are like that wave, connected to everything, yet uniquely yourself. Your strength comes from knowing who you are, not from depending on others to I've seen people transform their lives simply by changing their relationship with solitude. They stopped seeing alone time as punishment and started seeing it as a gift. They discovered that the quiet moments aren't empty, they're full of possibility, creativity, and growth. When you learn to enjoy your own company, something remarkable happens. The world opens up. You stop making decisions based on fear of being alone. You choose experiences that truly resonate with you. You attract people who appreciate you for who you really are, not who you pretend to be. Every moment you spend alone is an opportunity to strengthen your relationship with yourself. It's a chance to practice self-compassion, to explore your thoughts, to dream bigger dreams. These moments aren't taking you away from life. They're preparing you to live more fully. Remember that person I mentioned earlier. She went on to start her own business, write a book, and build deep, meaningful relationships, not because she conquered loneliness by finding more people, but because she conquered it by finding herself. You have that same power within you. The ability to be your own source of comfort, wisdom, and strength. The capacity to enjoy solitude without feeling lonely. The potential to build a relationship with yourself that's so rich and fulfilling that being alone becomes a choice, not a circumstance. Think about the mountains. They stand alone, yet they're never lonely. They're majestic in their solitude. That same majesty exists within you. When you align with your true self, when you honor your need for solitude, when you cultivate self-companionship, you become like those mountains, strong, peaceful, complete. I'll tell you another story. A young man once asked a wise elder the secret to happiness. The elder took him to a quiet garden and said nothing for an hour. Finally, the young man, frustrated, asked again. The elder smiled and said, "You've just experienced it." The ability to sit quietly with yourself, and this is the heart of self-companionship, finding peace in your own presence. It's not about being antisocial or withdrawing from the world. It's about building such a strong foundation within yourself that you can engage with the world from a place. Let's talk about authenticity. When you're alone, there's no need to wear masks, to pretend, to perform for others. This is your chance to be utterly, completely yourself, to laugh at your own jokes, to dance like no one's watching because no one is, to dream your wildest dreams without judgment. The most profound conversations you'll ever have are the ones you have with yourself. In these conversations, you discover your values, your purpose, your deepest truths. You learn what matters to you, not what others think should matter to you. The quality of time you spend alone shapes the quality of your entire life. When you master the art of being alone, you become unstoppable. You see, most people spend their lives running from solitude, filling every quiet moment with noise, distraction, and shallow, but not you. Not anymore. Think about your morning routine. You immediately reach for your phone? Do you turn on the TV to drown out the silence? These habits might seem harmless, but they're robbing you of precious moments with yourself. Start your day by simply sitting with your thoughts for 5 minutes. Notice how your mind works. Notice your breathing. Notice the way your body feels. I once met a musician who told me something profound. He said, "Before I learned to love my own company, my music was just noise. Once I became friends with myself, my music became truth." This applies to everything. When we're uncomfortable being alone, our actions come from a place of escape rather than expression. Your mind is like a garden. When you spend quality time alone, you're tending to that garden. You're pulling out the weeds of negative self-talk. You're planting seeds of possibility. You're watering the flowers of your dreams. But if you never spend time in your garden, how can you expect it to bloom? Let's get practical for a moment. Take out your phone. Look at how many hours you spend each day on social media, watching videos or messaging people. Now imagine investing just half of that time in getting to know yourself better. That's not time lost. It's time invested in the most important relationship you'll ever have. I remember working with someone who said he couldn't stand eating alone at restaurants. He'd rather skip a meal than sit by himself in public. One day, he challenged himself to do just that. He took himself out to dinner. No phone, no book, just him and his thoughts. Know what happened? At first, it was uncomfortable. He felt like everyone was watching him. They weren't, but by dessert, something shifted. He realized he was actually enjoying his own company. That's the thing about being alone. The discomfort doesn't last. It's like exercising a muscle. The first few times might be challenging, but with practice, you grow stronger. Soon, you start craving those moments of solitude. They become your source of power, clarity, and peace. Besides, I want you to try spend 1 hour doing something you love completely alone. It could be painting, walking in nature, playing music, or simply sitting in silence. Don't document it for social media. Don't tell anyone about it. Let it be a beautiful secret between you and yourself. The most common excuse I hear is, I don't have time to be alone. But consider this, every great leader, every successful person, every truly happy individual has the same 24 hours as you. They've just made different choices about how to use that time. They've learned that solitude isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. Your relationship with yourself is like a marriage. There will be good days and challenging days. Sometimes you'll feel deeply connected. Other times you might feel distant. The key is commitment. Commit to showing up for yourself every day. Commit to listening to your inner voice. Commit to being patient with your growth. Think about the last time you felt truly lonely and in a crowd. That feeling doesn't come from being physically alone. It comes from being disconnected from yourself. When you're in tune with who you are, you can be in a room full of strangers and feel completely at peace. You can be the only person at the beach and feel deeply connected to everything. Self-companionship isn't just about being comfortable alone. It's about becoming your own mentor, cheerleader, and friend. When you face challenges, don't immediately seek outside opinions. Sit with yourself first. What do I really think about this? What does my experience tell me? What feels right in my heart? I met a painter who spent 6 months in a remote cabin working on her art. People called her crazy. They said she was wasting time hiding from the world, but in those 6 months of solitude, she created her most powerful work. She told me, for the first time, I could hear my own artistic voice without the noise of others' expectations. Your inner voice is like a radio signal. There's always music playing, but if you never turn down the volume of the world, you'll never hear it. In moments of solitude, when you quiet the external noise, your inner wisdom becomes clear. Solutions to problems emerge. Creative ideas flow. You begin to understand yourself on a deeper level. Every time you feel the urge to distract yourself from being alone, ask yourself, what am I trying to avoid? Often, we use busyness to escape our thoughts, feelings, or fears. But those thoughts and feelings aren't your enemies. They're messages from yourself waiting to be heard. The way you treat yourself when you're alone sets the standard for how others will treat you. If you can't stand your own company, how can you expect others to enjoy it? If you don't respect your own boundaries, how can you expect others to respect them? If you don't listen to yourself, how can you expect others to listen to you? What would your younger self think of the relationship you have with yourself today? Would they be proud of how you talk to yourself? Would they feel safe and understood in your presence? Would they trust you to protect their dreams and nurture their spirit? The beautiful thing about building a strong relationship with yourself is that it ripples out into every area of your life. Your work becomes more authentic because you're not trying to prove anything to anyone. Your relationships become deeper because you're not trying to fill a void. Your decisions become clearer because you trust your inner guidance. I've seen people transform their entire lives simply by changing the way they spend their alone time. Instead of numbing themselves with endless scrolling or mindless TV, they started using that time for self-discovery. They began journaling, meditating, creating art, or simply sitting in reflection. The results were amazing. Better sleep, reduced anxiety, improved relationships, increased creativity. Think about the most peaceful place you know. Maybe it's a beach, a mountaintop, or a quiet garden. Now realize that this same peace is available within you anytime you choose to connect with yourself. You don't need to travel anywhere or buy anything. You just need to be willing to sit with yourself, to listen, to be present. Your thoughts are like clouds in the sky of your mind. When you're comfortable being alone, you learn to watch them pass without getting caught in every storm. You develop the wisdom to know which thoughts to engage with and which ones to let float by. Self-companionship also means being honest with yourself. It means looking at your habits, your patterns, your choices with clear eyes, not to judge, but to understand, not to criticize, but to grow. When you're truly comfortable with yourself, you can face these truths without running away. I worked with someone who spent years jumping from relationship to relationship, always afraid to be single. When she finally took time to be alone, she discovered she didn't even know what she liked or wanted. She'd spent so long adapting to others that she'd lost touch with herself. Taking time to rebuild that connection changed everything for her. Remember this, the relationship you have with yourself is the foundation upon which every other relationship is built. If that foundation is strong, your connections with others will be strong. If it's weak, you'll always feel unstable, no matter how many people. Being comfortable alone doesn't mean you don't need people. It means you choose people from a place of wholeness rather than desperation. It means you can enjoy deep connections while still maintaining your sense of self. It means you can love deeply without losing yourself in another person. I'll share a powerful truth. The more comfortable you become with solitude, the more you realize you're never truly alone. You're connected to everything, nature, the universe, the collective human experience. But you can only feel this connection when you stop running from yourself. In these moments of solitude, you'll find your power. You'll discover that being alone isn't a punishment. It's a privilege. It's your time to recharge, reflect, and reconnect with your true self. It's your time to dream, to plan, to create, to simply be. The greatest gift you can give yourself is the gift of self-acceptance. Not tomorrow, not when you achieve your goals, but right now exactly as you are. This moment is your starting point for the most important relationship of your life, the one you have with yourself. You might be wondering why some people seem so at ease, being alone while others can't stand it. The difference isn't in their circumstances, it's in their relationship with themselves. Those who enjoy solitude have learned something precious. They've learned to be their own best friend. Let me tell you about a businessman I met. He ran a successful company, had a beautiful family, seemed to have everything, but he confessed something surprising. He scheduled fake meetings just to avoid being alone in his office. He filled every minute with calls, meetings, and activities because he couldn't bear his own company. His success was a mask hiding a deep disconnection from himself. This same person, 1 year later, had completely transformed. What changed? He started small. First, he spent his lunch breaks alone, no phone, no laptop, just him and his thoughts. Then he began taking solo walks every evening. Gradually, he started looking forward to these moments of solitude. They became his time to strategize, to dream, to connect with his true desires. Your thoughts create your reality. When you're alone, what thoughts do you feed yourself? Are they thoughts of possibility or limitation, of self-love or self-criticism? Every moment alone is a chance to reprogram your inner dialogue. Choose your thoughts as carefully as you choose your friends. Take a piece of paper. Write down everything you'd say to your best friend if they were feeling down. Now, read those words back to yourself. Does your inner dialogue match this level of kindness? If not, it's time to become a better friend to yourself. The most successful people I've met all share a common trait. They've mastered the art of productive solitude. They use their alone time not to escape life, but to enhance it. They reflect, plan, create, and grow. They see solitude as a strategic advantage, not a social failure. Think about a time when you made a decision just to please others, ignoring your inner voice. How did that work out? Now think about a time when you listened to your gut, even if others disagreed. Which decision led to better results? Your inner guidance system is always working, but you can only hear it clearly when you're comfortable being alone with your thoughts. Let's talk about social media and technology. They're tools, not substitutes for real self-companionship. Scrolling through feeds of other people's lives won't help you understand your own. Taking a perfect selfie won't help you see your truth. These digital distractions often keep us from the very thing we need most: genuine connection with ourselves. I worked with an artist who was stuck in creative block. She spent hours looking at other artists' work online, feeling increasingly inadequate. The solution: she took a month-long digital detox. No social media, no online art brought, just her canvas, and her thoughts. The art that emerged was completely original, deeply personal, and more powerful than anything she'd created before. Your comfort with solitude directly impacts your decision-making ability. When you're afraid to be alone, you might stay in unhealthy relationships, keep toxic friends, or continue unfulfilling jobs, anything to avoid facing your... But when you're comfortable in your own company, you make choices from a place of self-respect and inner... Every great book you've read, every piece of art that moved you, every invention that changed the world, these came from someone's ability to spend time alone with their thoughts. Creativity doesn't emerge from constant connectivity. It comes from the quiet spaces between the noise. Fear of being alone often masks deeper fears. Fear of our own thoughts, fear of our emotions, fear of facing our truth. But these fears lose their power when we face them. Each moment you spend in comfortable solitude is a moment of personal victory, a step toward true freedom. I remember working with a young woman who couldn't sleep without the TV on. The silence felt threatening. We started small, 5 minutes of quiet before bed. Just 5 minutes of being with her thoughts. Those 5 minutes gradually became 30, then an hour. Now she calls her bedtime solitude her golden hours, a time to review her day, plan tomorrow, and connect with herself. Your relationship with yourself sets the bar for every other relationship in your life. If you're comfortable being alone, you won't accept relationships that make you feel lonely. If you enjoy your own company, you won't settle for companions who don't appreciate you. If you treat yourself with respect, you'll naturally attract others who do the same. Think about eating alone at a restaurant. Many people fear this simple act. They'll order takeout instead or skip meals just to avoid being seen alone. But what if you saw solo dining as an opportunity? A chance to fully taste your food, to observe life around you, to enjoy your own company. The same activity can be either painful or pleasant. The difference lies in your relationship with yourself. Start dating yourself. Yes, actually plan special time just for you. Take yourself to movies, concerts, or museums. Go on solo adventures. Treat yourself with the same consideration and excitement you'd show a romantic partner. This isn't selfish, it's selfful. The quality of your alone time affects the quality of your together time. When you're comfortable with solitude, you bring your whole self to relationships. You don't need others to complete you. You invite them to complement your already complete. Your inner dialogue is like a constant radio station. What songs are playing on your station? Are they uplifting or degrading, empowering or limiting? You are the DJ of your mind. Choose the playlist carefully. Fill it with thoughts that support your growth, fuel your dreams, and strengthen your self-connection. People who are comfortable alone often have the strongest boundaries. They can say no without guilt. They can stand their ground without aggression. They can walk away from situations that don't serve them. Why? Because they know they'll be fine on their own. Consider how you handle silence. Do you immediately reach for your phone when there's a quiet moment? Do you turn on background noise just to fill the void? Silence is not empty. It's full of answers. Learn to sit with it. Let it teach you about yourself. The relationship with yourself is like a garden that needs daily tending. Some days you'll plant new seeds of possibility. Other days you'll pull weeds of self-doubt. Some days you'll simply sit and appreciate what's growing. Every moment spent nurturing this garden, makes it more beautiful. Think about the last time you felt truly peaceful. Chances are it wasn't when you were trying to impress others or fit in. It was probably a moment when you felt completely aligned with yourself, when you weren't trying to be anything other than who you are. Your alone time is your power time. It's when you can hear your intuition clearly, when you can plan your next moves without outside influence, when you can recharge your energy without draining it into endless social interactions. Use this time wisely. I worked with a leader who transformed his company by transforming his relationship with solitude. He started taking regular thinking days, full days spent alone, reflecting on the business and his vision. His clarity improved. His decisions became more confident. His team respected him more because they could feel his self-respect. Being alone doesn't mean being inactive. Some of your most productive moments will come in solitude. Some of your biggest breakthroughs will happen when it's just you and your thoughts. Some of your best ideas will emerge from quiet reflection. The way you spend your alone time reveals your true priorities. Do you use it for growth, creativity, and self-discovery, or do you waste it trying to escape yourself? There's no judgment here. This is an opportunity to make more conscious choices. When you're comfortable being alone, you become more interesting to others. Paradoxical, isn't it? But it's true. People who have rich inner lives, who can engage with their own thoughts and interests, naturally draw others to them. They don't need constant validation or attention. Think about your current relationship with yourself. If it were a friendship or romance, how would you rate it? Are you kind to yourself? Patient? Understanding? Do you listen to your own needs? Do you keep your promises to yourself? Start treating yourself like someone you love. Your ability to be alone gracefully is a superpower in today's constantly connected world. While others are afraid of missing out, you know the joy of choosing to be with yourself. While others are addicted to external validation, you find validation from within. I've seen people transform their careers once they got comfortable with solitude. They stopped making decisions based on others' expectations. They started trusting their instincts. They became leaders rather than followers because they weren't afraid to stand alone in their convictions. The time you spend alone is not time taken away from life. It's time invested in creating a life worth living. It's in these moments that you clarify your values, define your boundaries, and design your future. Your relationship with yourself is the longest relationship you'll ever have. From your first breath to your last, you're in this together. Doesn't it make sense to make this relationship as positive and nurturing as possible? Think of self-companionship as a skill, like playing an instrument or learning a language. It takes practice. Start with small moments. Gradually increase the duration. Notice what comes up. Resistance, fear, boredom. These are all teachers showing you where you need to grow. The most meaningful conversations often happen in solitude. When you're alone, you can be completely honest with yourself. No masks, no pretenses, no social performances, just raw, authentic truth. These conversations with yourself set the foundation for authentic conversations with others. Remember this? Your worth isn't determined by your relationship status, your social circle, or your online following. Your worth is inherent. Being alone doesn't diminish it. Being in a crowd doesn't increase it. It's constant, like the sun behind clouds. Always there, regardless of what's temporarily hiding it. In closing, remember that mastering self-companionship is a journey, not a destination. There will be days when solitude feels natural and days when it feels challenging. Both are normal. Both are valuable. The key is to keep showing up for yourself, to keep nurturing this most important relationship. You are not just capable of being alone. You are capable of thriving alone. You have within you everything you need for a rich, fulfilling relationship with yourself. Trust this truth. Live this truth. Let it transform your life. Take these words with you. Let them remind you that true companionship starts with self-companionship. Let them inspire you to build a relationship with yourself that's so strong, so positive. So nurturing that being alone becomes not just... Your journey to self-companionship is the foundation for everything else in your life. Invest in it, nurture it, celebrate it. The rewards will transform not just your alone time, but every moment of your life. Remember, you cannot be lonely if you truly like the person you're alone with. And that person is you, unique, valuable, and worthy of your own best companionship.